Hey everybody, I thought I would upload this video with some people having some serious problems regarding this 2006 Kia Sorento 3.5 liter engine. The initial thing we were going to repair here were the valve cover gaskets, which is quite an extensive job. I was watching Eric's video, which was a great video on YouTube, a three-part series. To remove these valve cover gaskets, you do have to remove the plenum here and all these wires. Very involved process, no question, several hours involved. Well, anyways, the parts to do this cost about $60 for just a gasket that goes underneath this valve cover right here. So the problem is when people put the car back together, get it all plugged in and started up, for several people, the engine doesn't run right. You're misfiring, and the car ran fine initially. You're just replacing a valve cover gasket because you were leaking a little bit oil that would make the inside of your car stink every time a drop of oil hit your exhaust manifold. So it has nothing. What you're repairing has nothing to do with electrical, but you have to disconnect a lot of electrical, obviously, to repair the gasket. So anyways, you start your car afterwards, and then it runs like crap. So didn't know what the problem was. You check all your connections, and while you're in there, I might say, when you're taking everything apart, everybody typically does their normal updates. They're going to put new spark plugs in, possibly new wires. You put a new PCV valve in while you're in there. So while you're in there, you're replacing some things, as I did myself. So sure enough, when I put it all back together, my car ran like shit. It ran absolutely perfect beforehand. I had misfires galore. The thing was just a nightmare. So again, looking online, lots of people posting how they've been spending weeks, even months, trying to figure out what the problem was. And so that scared me quite a bit here, saying, how could that be? So, people went as far as removing the plenum, then going as far as, after that, checking all the gaskets, replacing all your fuel injectors. One person got as far as replacing your oxygen sensors on your exhausts. Lots of work. Another person went as far as actually removing your heads. Okay, all this over removing a valve cover gasket and replacing a valve cover gasket. So that, of course, scared me because this was turning into possibly be a nightmare. So I worked on this for several days after work, tried to keep it really simple. So what I ended up doing is just pulling off the spark plug wires as I was running it. And some cylinders made bigger, how should we say, engine variations, trying to isolate which one was the bad firing. It was the misfire. So what I ended up doing ultimately was pulling all the spark plugs again and putting the old spark plugs back in, because it definitely seemed like it was an electrical misfire. When I would put the gas down at like 1500 RPM, you would hear the cylinder kick in and kick out. It definitely sounded like an ignition problem. So what I did is I pulled all the spark plugs out, all the new spark plugs out, put in the old spark plugs, and guess what? It ran absolutely fine. So then I had to go through and isolate which one was the bad spark plug. So I had a brand new spark plug. Brand new spark plug, iridium double platinum spark plug that was bad. So now I just replaced the spark plug and it absolutely fixed the problem. So hope this helps out some people, because a lot of people ended up either trashing their cars, they brought them to technicians, they brought them to Kia, and they couldn't figure out what the problem was. They just assumed that since they're new spark plugs, they're all good. So believe it or not, sometimes when you buy some parts, a spark plug can be defective out of the box. And you can't see it here, but there was just a little burnt mark in between the silver piece of metal and the porcelain here where the spark was jumping. So, and that would short out the plug intermittently, which would make the engine run terribly. So that's the quick video on this. I still have to put this engine back together completely, but because I had it half together, kind of trying to do some things here. I still have covers to put on here, the stabilizer black bracket over here. But again, it all came down to the spark plugs. The brand new spark plugs I put in, one of them was bad. So hope this helps you guys out. Also, when you're replacing the wires, big deal here, when you're trying to replace these spark plug wires in the back, the little, it has a fixed plate that goes around the back that these run through that are impossible to get to. The bolts aren't bad taking them off, but getting this piece out, because you're never going to run the wires behind the engine in this thing, basically. It just broke on me. Go ahead, it's okay to break it. So what I did is I broke it off, and the wires that I'm running back there now, I have bought through Amazon insulated, heat shield insulated wire covers. So each one of those wires has a heat shield around it in the back, because it's running in between the engine and tubing. So it does get hot back there. So I wanted to protect the wires. So each one of those wires, there's only 3 wires running to the other side. Each one of them has heat tubing around it, protecting it. And then I'm going to put another heat shield over all 3 wires. So it's going to be double covered. Each wire is covered. And then also there's going to be a larger heat shield tubing going around all 3 of them, keeping them corralled together in between all the pipes and the motor behind it. So hope this helps you guys out, and have a great day. Take care.